And welcome everybody to the Huddle. I'm KGUD9's Jason Barr, joined by Pat Parris as always. Pat, I'm fired up today. We've got a lot to talk about. We want this time of year, and there's a lot going on. How's it going today?
Well, there's a lot going on, Jason. There's a lot
All
going
right,
on.
we'll talk Arizona football. We'll talk Coach Prime. We'll talk some other things, but I'm going to get to the hot topic and the big topic in sports right now, which actually could be a little bit local. I'll get to that and why that is. And that's last night. Oh my goodness, the Jets. You watch Hard Knocks. You wait all summer to see Aaron Rodgers play. This quarterback, this four-time NFL MVP, he comes out of the tunnel on 9/11 carrying the American flag, and on the fourth play he goes down. We find out today it's a torn Achilles. He's out for the year. The air was sucked out of the stadium last night, and you can feel it again a little bit today if you're rooting for this story at all.
It was, I mean, talk about deflating, talk about shocking. It was, there was a lot of hype for good reason. And as you mentioned it, Jason, when you're the subject of Hard Knocks, the HBO preseason series, or even the in season one, all the eyes are on that show, and for good reason. It's exceptionally well done. And there was a lot of hype. I mean, a lot of people already had, the script of the NFL. They thought it was going to be the Jets and the Cowboys or something like that, and that was going to be the Super Bowl matchup, and all about on and on and on. Regardless of all that, it was a great story. You still thought that Aaron Rodgers had maybe one more MVP type season left in him, and on the fourth play, and when he went down, Jason, I turned to my wife and I said, Achilles.
Yeah.
And they're like ankle, and then the ankle came back, X-rays, it's an Achilles, and he's done. You could just see the way he stretched out that ankle, that the Achilles got stretched there. And when you're 39 years old, things just don't work as well as they did before. What they say, Father Time is undefeated. Well, Father Time caught up with Aaron Rodgers on Achilles, and don't even start to think about you coming back and being full strength. The numbers are awful with guys that age and Achilles, Jason. It's something like if you played an average NFL player who played 11 games a year before his Achilles injury, he plays like 5 after that. It's very unlikely that a guy 39 can come back and play at a level. Will he even want to? I mean, that's going to be the next question.
All right, so Zach Wilson comes in. Pat, they did not win this game because of Zach Wilson. They won this game in spite of Zach Wilson. He played not good for the Jets last night. That touchdown throw to Garrett Wilson was a bad throw that Garrett Wilson made a great catch. He threw a terrible interception, and they won on a punt return. You talk about Hard Knocks and Xavier Gipson and the great story, how he makes the team and he gets the punt return for a touchdown at the end. He played not good football. He's been terrible the last couple of years. Pat, the Jets need to go in and get a veteran quarterback now. This is a top 5 defense. They've got skill positions. Zach Wilson has not given any indication he can play quarterback at a high level, and you can't waste the talent on this roster with a quarterback at that level.
I think if you asked Aaron Rodgers right now what he thought, he seemed to really take a liking to Zach Wilson. And I think he thought he could take him under his wing and he could make him that starting quarterback. And I know what you're saying. You think the Jets kept him because they don't want to look like they made a mistake with the first round pick. I think they were hoping some of this would just through osmosis and
a little of that too.
Yeah. And so I think they think that Zach Wilson can be the guy. I don't think he's going to be the guy, but I think they think he can be the guy. And I think Aaron Rodgers thinks he can be the guy. And so we'll
Not
see.
a ringing endorsement, Pat, today. The head coach of the Jets, Robert Saleh, at the news conference. Yeah, he's our guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's a ringing endorsement, but
I mean, I didn't hear we're going to rally around Zach Wilson. Yeah, don't give me any comparisons as it's a Kurt Warner or anything like that. Kurt Warner hadn't had his chance yet in the NFL, and he was a veteran quarterback. This guy has played for 2 years and not very well. There's a reason why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers.
Well, for sure. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I'm just saying it would not surprise me if the Jets thought that this was the guy and they were going to go with this guy because they saw some things in preseason they liked, because he was getting that mentorship from Aaron Rodgers, and that they'll go with this guy. Now, Do I think it's good enough? No, I don't. But
Okay, well then you got
when
to
you
go out and
go
get a
all
veteran
in on
quarterback.
Aaron Rodgers and he's 39, you know that this can happen. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, deep in the season or once the season was over and his career was over. This happened this week. So fourth play of the game.
Okay, so here's the quarterback that the Jets need to go out and call right now, and that's Nick Foles, the former University of Arizona quarterback. He was here in Tucson a week and a half ago as an honorary captain. He's 34 years old, a former Super Bowl MVP. He is uniquely qualified for this. He came in for an injured Carson Wentz that year, had an unbelievable NFC Championship game against the Vikings, had a fantastic Super Bowl against the Patriots. He is a leader. This is a mature guy. Zach Wilson is a boy. This is a man. This is the quarterback for the Jets. If they can just pass protect a little bit, because they can run the ball, that offensive line, not as great pass protecting. Foles is the quarterback the Jets need to call right now.
Go for it. I think that Nick Foles is a guy you would be smart to bring in. I'm just not sure he's going to move ahead of Zach Wilson. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, I think that the Jets, as I mentioned before, really think Zach Wilson has gotten better and will be better.
He didn't show it last night, Pat.
Well, I think they were all in shell shock last night. I mean,
Gosh,
and he did lead them on a couple of drives.
That's your job as the backup quarterback, to always be ready. Shell shock? What?
The whole
That's
team
your
was
job.
shell shocked.
He
They
should have come in
even
and
said it
seized
in
the
the
moment.
post game. They said we were, obviously they didn't play very well right away after that. Now defensively they played great. Why wouldn't they? They have a terrific defense. My point is this: while Nick Foles could and should probably be brought in by the Jets, I'm not so sure they're going to make that move. And if they do make that move, I'm not so sure he supplants Zach Wilson as a starter, at least right away. And you still look at, and I love the Nick Foles story. I love the fact that he's from the University of Arizona. We're very proud of that fact. But Nick Foles hasn't had a bit of success outside of Philadelphia.
Needs the right situation.
He couldn't keep the starting job in Philadelphia, and he didn't have any success at his other stops in St. Louis, Jacksonville, Indianapolis. As you see there,
he was never the starter in Philadelphia. It was always Carson Wentz's team. Okay, so they gave Carson Wentz the job. He would, because he left to become the Jacksonville quarterback. Now, I will say this: a little bit of agreement here with Nick Foles. He's the type of quarterback. I don't know that he could drive a busted up Buick. But boy, he can drive a Cadillac. He can drive a Lexus. That's Jets team is ready to win now. He doesn't have to go in and resurrect some bad team. They're ready to win. They need a veteran quarterback. This is a guy who could do. Yes, Foles needs the right team.
He needs the right team.
The Jets are the right team now.
The lack of protection in 4 plays that Aaron Rodgers got in that game?
Yes, they have to pass protect.
That's why I don't think Nick Foles is the answer either.
Well, then you get a quarterback who's just a running guy who's going to run for his life.
Maybe that's true. At least Zach Wilson's a little bit more mobile, and Zach Wilson was under pressure a lot too. So I think their offensive line, I think they completely missed it for the Jets when they got Aaron Rodgers, but they really didn't make the right moves to protect Aaron Rodgers. I know there's no money left. You got a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball. That's the problem with the NFL, Jason. You can't have everything.
Ran blocked fine, though. I don't know why they run block so much better.
Well, they ran block fine because Breece Hall is a terrific running back that as soon as all you need is just a little seam and he was gone because he's so fast to the line. It's a pass protect that's a different animal. They just did not look good.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see what the Jets do. I don't want to spend too much more time on that because I want to get to the University of Arizona football. And, a bittersweet game at Mississippi State. God, here's the final play with de Laura on that 4th down. He came up just short. It's just, how do you want to see it? You want to see the glass half full, or do you want to see the glass half empty? I mean, yeah, you can go back. Boy, this team, rallied back from 4 interceptions down, 2 touchdowns down, took the game in overtime. And I'll say this, the point that I want to make more so than this, and you could look at the de Laura interceptions, and Fish made an excuse for them. Come on, Fish. Those were bad interceptions, most of them. On one of them, the defender made a good play. The other ones were bad interceptions. But the play that sticks out to me, if I have to play one play, is that the Wildcats really had the momentum there at the end of the game. And the defense was playing so well in that overtime. Haimuli's missed tackle in overtime. If I was going to point to one play that really cost them, that's the play that cost them the most.
But Jason, you look at those 4 interceptions. Plus, he had a fumble. Don't forget, a costly fumble. I've never seen a quarterback not run when he should run and throw it and get intercepted. And then when you really shouldn't run, he runs. And that fourth down play, 4th and 10 that ended the game in overtime is another example. Yeah, he almost made it, but guess what? He didn't make it. That's a low percentage for a quarterback to run 10 yards in overtime when you're already down, on the other end of the field. It's just a slightly shortened field. My point is this: his decision-making is terrible still. We need to see Jayden de Laura make better decisions with the football, running it as a quarterback and throwing it as a quarterback. He has moments where you're like, oh, I think he's getting it. And they move the ball, and then he throws 4 interceptions and he fumbles another time. He's now had, 10 interceptions in his last 4 games. It's very frustrating. And you get a defense that I thought played their hearts out. I thought their defense.
Yeah, I like Bill Norton. I really do.
I really do too. And I got to give them credit. They were put in tough positions with those interceptions, and they still kept this team in the game against Mississippi State. They got down by 2 touchdowns, but then they kind of put the brakes on. And they were put in those bad positions to get down by 2 touchdowns. The defense where it wasn't all their fault for sure. So there's a lot of frustration. There's definitely close, but close doesn't count, Jason. It's really disappointing. It's still frustrating to me a few days later.
No, it is, and I'm not. If this was year 1, okay. But this was I would call this a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I do too.
How I would describe it.
Wally Wildcat, I'm with you. In the NFL, they wouldn't even have looked at it again. They just would have said first down. But
it was close.
It was close, but I think his elbow was down and the ball was just slightly behind.
You had a chance here to go 4-0 going into that 7 straight ranked teams.
Yeah,
because they're going to beat UTEP on Saturday, and then they play a rebuilding Stanford team on the road. The term I would call this, I heard resilient kind of thrown around, but I'm going with missed opportunity. This was a missed opportunity against a Mississippi State team that didn't play great, and the defense did not play well initially, and the Bulldogs were running the ball, but then the defense really came together. And Bill Norton, what I like about him is now 2 weeks in a row, he causes penalties from the other team. They have to hold him, and he has a little bit of a good attitude, up there. He's an intimidating player. I like what he's brought to the defense. I like Flo better than Haimuli. That missed tackle really bothers me. Yeah. Manu had a sack and 12 tackles, 2.5 for a tackle for a loss. Pat, Jacob Manu is that typical U of A player who's a little undersized, who's been overlooked, by the bigger brand programs, if you will, because of his size, and comes here for whatever reason, like a Scooby Wright. And this guy is a hell of a player.
And got a chip on their shoulder, and they're gonna make other teams pay the rest of the season. That's for sure. I think you're right, Jason. I think missed opportunity is probably the way to look at this. You can't go back and say, well, if he doesn't throw 4 interceptions, if he throws 2 interceptions, you'd have these and this, and if he doesn't fumble the ball, and on and on and on.
T-Mac is a half a step away from scoring on that touchdown.
You're right. Yep. And there's a lot of go backs and wish you could do it over again. You can't, though, and that's the problem with major college football. You don't get do-overs. Do you think Alabama's feeling real good about itself right now? They didn't see that one coming against Texas. They've been dominating Texas. They thought they had that one. You can go down the line. There were a lot of teams that we're a little surprised at right now. And we'll talk about Colorado here in a second, but you've got opportunities, and now you've got 2 more, as you said. You've got UTEP, and then you've got a Stanford team that's a little down right now. And then after that, it's just a juggernaut. And I warned you, Jason, at the beginning of the season, there's a tough stretch there. And now, because a record 8 Pac-12 schools are ranked in the top 25. Never happened before. Never had more than 6.
Just incredible.
And now there's
talk about
8.
Going out with a bang.
Yeah. UCLA 24, Washington State 23, Colorado, Oregon State, Oregon, Utah, Washington, USC. I went in backwards order there, but USC ranked number 5. That's impressive, and it's unfortunate it's the last year of the Pac-12 and we're going to miss it. But yeah, why not go out with a bang? Now Arizona's got an uphill battle to get back to that. You said 7-5. I said 6.
I'm down to 6-6 as a perfect segue. We don't have to transit. We can wait a second here, but I'm 6-6 now after watching Colorado and Shedeur Sanders last.
I didn't realize in game or in season we could change that. Okay,
no, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I tell you what, I didn't get a chance. I did want to put money on Arizona. I'm not for that over under with 5 because I thought 7-5 with the downside being 6-6. I'm 6-6 now, but not because of Arizona. I'm with what I'm seeing from them. I'm kind of expecting it's the schedule that looks good. That's why I'm down to 6-6. But no, I'm not. I have to stick with 7-5. You can't change it mid-season, right? You don't do that. But if I were to do it all over again, I'd say 6 wins. All right. Well, we can.
Let me say this. Let me say one more thing about Arizona, and it's not the de Laura turnovers and you said it last week at the halftime of the game against NIU. They weren't passing the eye test. Well, now we're in week 2. We're seeing some parts of this team pass the eye test. And I think that's on the defensive side. And I think we knew already that Arizona with Wiley could run the ball a little bit. We knew that they had great receivers and a great tight end. But right now, quarterback not passing the eye test is just not consistent enough to get the job done. So if they want to pull off a win that we didn't expect, that's where the improvement's going to have to be, for a game, for a game where you've got to pull an upset against one of these top 25 teams.
Yeah. All right. So I agree with you there. All right. So let's transition here. It's been a final few minutes on the fun story in sports. Or at least I've been having fun with it because Pat, I was a believer way back. So, obviously people are jumping on the bandwagon now, but Coach Prime is a fantastic coach. He really is. That team is really well coached. That quarterback is so good. And Travis Hunter is so good. And his other son, Shiloh. But here's the interesting point I want to make. That I haven't heard made elsewhere. It was interesting. I heard the announcers were almost apologizing for Matt Rule. So who's Matt Rule? He's the Nebraska coach, and Colorado blew out Nebraska. Here, Dion and Matt Rule took over similar programs, Colorado, Nebraska maybe with a more storied history even, at similar times. Coach Prime is 2-0. Nebraska's lost to Minnesota, got blown out by Colorado. And they made an excuse for him. They said, well, Matt Rule's doing it a different way. He's bringing in a whole bunch of freshman players. Coach Prime went and got 75 new guys. He wants to win now. And to that, I'll say, okay, if you want to be nice to Matt Rule, that's fine. But Coach Prime's not just going to win this year, okay? He's going to win next year and the year after and the year after that. No, we won't have that quarterback.
As long as he stays there. Yeah, as long as he stays there.
Shedur's going to go to the NFL. Yeah, the rumor in Alabama is ridiculous.
No.
I don't even touch that now.
No.
He'll lose Shedeur to the NFL, but there's a whole bunch of other guys coming who are like, look what he's doing there.
Yep.
They're going to be a power every year. And it's like he told Aaron Andrews in the pregame show in week 1, they're going to make a movie about this. This is fun. I'm just enjoying it. Obviously, I'm going to root for Arizona when they play Colorado, but otherwise I'm having fun watching this.
Well, and I think you're right. I think, there's 2 ways to go about it, but in today's game, with the transfer portal and a big name like Deion Sanders, of course you're going to use the transfer portal. And of course you're going to make a big splash to win now because that helps your program grow. As you point out, if he stays a few years, this just feeds upon itself. Now kids that were kind of debating whether they're going to go to Colorado or USC or UCLA, they're going to go to Colorado because they're seeing how much fun they're having. And this could be, several years of great football before he takes off and goes to the NFL. You talked about Travis Hunter. Did you see the percentage of plays he's in right now? This guy's incredible. To me, 274 snaps through 2 games for a player who plays both ways is an incredible total. He's in on 81.6% of offensive plays, and that means he's running lots of routes, right? And he's in on 95.8% of all the defensive snaps, too.
And who's the perfect coach to coach somebody like that?
Yeah, the guy that did it himself.
And very interesting what Coach Prime said about that. What the announcer said was usually when a guy plays every snap on one side, he just has a package on the other side.
Right.
This guy plays every play on both
It's
sides.
pretty much every down.
But what Coach Prime said, what was interesting was he said, I'm not going to let you play the second side of the ball unless you're dominant on the other one. And I think that's the mentality and that's the way you go. And obviously he's dominant on both sides, right? So it doesn't matter. But he says you got to be dominant on one side before you go in the other. And in Deion's case, he was a dominant defensive back, and I don't know if he was as good at baseball as he was as a defensive back in football.
No, but he was pretty good.
He's not in the baseball Hall of Fame like he's in the football.
No, but he also was a
hell of a player.
He was also a part-time baseball player. It takes year-round effort to be, one of those Hall of Fame baseball players. Yeah. So I think he and guys like Bo Jackson are just phenomenal athletes. Obviously, here's what I'll say too.
Story. He's disrupting college football.
He is.
You bring
just like he did in the NFL, just like he did when he was a player.
Football, yeah. It'll be fun until he beats up on Arizona, if that's what happens. And who knows?
Well, you don't know that, Jason.
And that was tougher after Colorado State this week.
Exactly. I was going to make that point. I made that point last week. I didn't think Nebraska would be a problem for them. I don't think Colorado State will be. It's an in-state rivalry. I get it. It won't be a problem. But then they go to Oregon, and then they're home against USC, and it goes on and on. They have just like the U of A has, you got to play the big boys now. You got to play all the ranked teams, and that's what's going to happen. And we'll see if things go. And then you don't wish it upon anybody because you want to play everybody at full strength. But an injury is going to happen. Somebody's going to get injured. You hope it's not the big two, the quarterback or the two-way player, but injuries happen, and that gets teams that are thin. And I bet you his team is probably thinner than we think.
I love what he said about Dylan Edwards. So if you're not familiar with Dylan Edwards, he's the running back for Colorado. Deion flipped him from Notre Dame. Deion coached him when he was youth football in Texas between the ages of 4 and 6. Dylan Edwards is not a very big player. I love what Coach Prime said. He said, when Dylan Edwards looks in the mirror, it's Shallow Hal. He sees a 6'4", 250-pound guy, and that's how he plays. I love that, man. I thought that was so much fun.
That's a great movie reference that a lot of people aged 30 and under have no idea what that is, but it's hilarious. Yeah.
All right, on that note, this has been a fun huddle, Pat.
It has.
It's great this time of year, and we'll have basketball soon. So this was a lot of fun.
By the way, Arizona's won 13 straight in the series against UTEP. The last time UTEP won was 1970.
I went to the game in 2017 in El Paso.
Yeah.
That was when our station had the Frost RV sponsorship.
That's right.
We took a Frost RV to the game.
You tailgated.
That was an adventure. Yes.
You and John Parra, our chief photographer.
That's right. Right. It was an interesting trip. On that note, I know we know it's too early to talk basketball. We said that, but thanks for the comments, everyone. We appreciate you watching and listening.
We'll talk basketball again when they get closer. Yeah.
For Pat, I'm Jason. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week at this time.